What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here, and welcome to our daily show where we discuss the fourth stimulus check update, what's going on in United States, Washington, D.C., money, investing, and the next stimulus package, which the Democrats has announced at $3.5 trillion. But one single senator, Senator Joe Manchin, is threatening to upend the entire deal, and he wants it to be cut down to less than half the size at $1.5 trillion. But the person in charge of this next stimulus package, Senator Bernie Sanders, the Senate budget chairman, the person in charge of the reconciliation process, is battling back and telling him, no, we're going to keep it at $3.5 trillion. We're actually going to hear from Senator Bernie Sanders in this video and new details on the next stimulus package and what they're going to be doing and how they're going to be paying for this package as well. Also, this is your regular reminder that if you see me in the comments asking you to text you, it's a scam. There are scammers in the comments that make fake accounts every single day, name themselves It's Jimmy or I am It's Jimmy or a variation of that. And they make fake accounts every single day and will ask to text you, contact me on WhatsApp, Instagram, or anything like that. And it's a scam. And they're doing this all across popular YouTube accounts, all across YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, all across everywhere. They'll call you on your phone, not just for my YouTube channel, but all across different YouTube channels. If you go on Facebook and you read if you go on CNN or Fox News or anything like that, they're everywhere. There are scams everywhere. So don't text with anybody through YouTube or give them your credit card number or anything like that. Just be aware there's lots of scams going on. And if you see anybody in the comments of YouTube or Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, anything like that saying, contact me, don't do it. It's a scam. This is your regular reminder. I've said this hundreds of times throughout the last several months, and just be aware of that. Okay, so with that being said, let's move on to Senator Bernie Sanders, who's the Senate budget chairman, giving more details about the next stimulus package that the majority of Democrats want this stimulus package to be $3.5 trillion, and it's supposed to be fully paid for. In fact, there's some senators from the Democratic side. Remember that this next stimulus package is going to be paid for, or I should say be passed from, only the Democrats. There's not a single Republican in support of this, as the Democrats are in charge of, they have the majority of the Senate, the House, and the presidency, and not a single Republican voted yes on the third stimulus check package either, and not a single Republican is going to vote yes on this next stimulus package either. So the Democrats have to pass this without a single Republican vote, and that means that all the Democrats in the Senate, they all need to vote yes, and 99% of the Democrats in the House need to vote yes as well. So they all need to agree on this, which means they all need to come to an agreement, and Senator Joe Manchin has to agree, even though he wants this bill to be much, much lower, and he's like one of the only Democrats that wants to do that. So here is Senator Bernie Sanders asking some tough, or being asked some tough questions with some answers, and here's his answers.
As we reported earlier, Democrats on the House Ways and Means Committee released a proposal today that would help pay for most of President Biden's $3.5 trillion spending bill. In addition to raising the corporate tax rate on businesses making $5 million in income to 26.5%, the plan also includes a 3% surtax on wealthy Americans making over $5 million a year, and a top tax rate of 39.6% on couples earning more than $450,000. For more on all of this, I'm joined by the chairman of the Senate Budget Committee, Senator Bernie Sanders. He is leading the effort behind the massive bill. Senator Sanders, welcome back to the News Hour. It's very good to see you. And let me ask you about what we are seeing from the House Tax Writing Committee, the Ways and Means Committee. $2.2 trillion over 10 years is what they have so far laid out. It's a lot of money, but it's well short of what President Biden was looking for. What is your take?
Well, I think we'll probably do a lot better in the Senate. The bottom line is, I think every American knows is that in our country today, the people on top, the 1% large corporations, are doing extremely well. And what we are seeing is that in any given year, you have multi-billionaires who are not paying a nickel in federal income taxes. That's true for many large profitable corporations. So I think what the American people are quite clear on, I'm quite clear on, now is the time to demand that the wealthiest people in this country and the largest corporations start paying their fair share of taxes. My hope is that we will pay completely for this $3.5 trillion reconciliation bill.
Well, as we mentioned, one of the things they're proposing is to raise the top corporate tax rate from 20% to 26.5%, raising the capital gains tax rate to as high as 31.3% for the very wealthy. That's less than the top rate for earned income. Is that acceptable to you?
Well, we'll see what the Senate Finance Committee does. But my general view is that at a time of massive and growing income and wealth inequality, when two people own more wealth than the bottom 40%, when the top 1% has more wealth than the bottom 92%, now is the time to ask the wealthy and large corporations to pay their fair share so that we can begin to address the long neglected needs of working families in terms of our children, in terms of healthcare, in terms of the elderly, and by the way, in terms of addressing the existential threat of climate change.
I was also thinking about something. I find it interesting that they want to raise taxes on individuals, on people. The top tax bracket on people right now is 37%. They want to raise it to 39.6%. And so we'll just say 40%, 39.6%. We'll say 40% for a nice round number. Then people have to pay state taxes on there. For example, in California, this top state tax rate is 13.3%. The average tax rate is probably somewhere around 5%, maybe 6, 7% for people. Then people have to pay Social Security taxes, FICA taxes, and property taxes, sales taxes. And the top tax rate for people can be 50, 60, 70%. But the top tax rate for corporations that make billions of dollars is only 21%. And they want to raise it to 26.5%. So why is it that people, the top tax bracket is 40% plus all these other all these other taxes. So they're at 50, 60% for people, but corporations are only at 21% and they want to raise it to only 26.5%. Pretty interesting. Does it have anything to do with all these corporate lobbyists that are always in Washington, D.C. and write the bills for all these lawmakers? Thank God they're at least raising the corporate tax rate for corporations. At least they're going to pay a little bit, right? But I find it interesting that people are going to pay 40% taxes for the top tax bracket when corporations are only paying 21%, almost half of what people pay. And remember, people have to pay Social Security taxes and all these other taxes, and corporations are paying almost half. And these corporations are making billions of dollars. You know, the famous story of Amazon made $11 billion in 1 year and paid $0 in federal income taxes because they just have write-offs out the wazoo and tax breaks and foreign tax credits and all this crazy stuff. And you know they have all these lobbyists and stuff. And it's remember that former President Donald Trump with the reconciliation card when the Republicans controlled the House, the Senate, and the presidency in 2017 and 2018. They lowered the corporate tax rate from 35% all the way down to 21% with the reconciliation process in 2017 and gave the corporations this huge tax break. I just find it weird that corporations that make billions and billions of dollars pay almost half as much as the top tax bracket for people. You can let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. It's just kind of a weird thing that popped into my mind the other day. we're trying to make all these packages be paid for. Oh, all of a sudden now the national debt is a huge concern, but corporations pay less money than people. Just seems kind of backwards to me.
I know you're saying this has to go to the Senate Finance Committee, but let me just ask you about one other element of this bill that the House committee looked at. And this is something that Senator Joe Manchin, who has problems with the overall spending bill, he said he accepts this, and that's extending the child tax credit, which has taken a lot of families out of poverty. The difference, though, is that he said it should be limited to the poor and middle income Americans, not to families earning as much as $400,000 a year. How do you see that?
Look, what I believe is that in the richest country in the history of the world, we have the highest rate of childhood poverty of almost any major country on earth. And what we should all be very proud of is that in terms of the American Rescue Plan, what we did, Judy, and this tells you what good policy can do, through the direct payments that went to working class families and the $300 a month payment to working parents, we have reduced childhood poverty in this country by over 50%. That is pretty good. And we've got to make sure that this approach, this direct payment to working parents, continues, because if we do not pass a reconciliation bill that ends in December, and that would be an absolute shame.
Now, personally, I do think that they should drastically lower that income threshold for the child tax credits. No families making $300,000 or $400,000 need that monthly child tax credit. I think it's an income phase out where I think it's in. I'd have to look into the details, but because this would go all the way back to when they passed it back in the third stimulus check package. But I think it's families making over $150,000 start to get reduced payments of the child tax credits. But it's ridiculous that families making up to $400,000 still get child tax credits. That's absolutely ridiculous. They should absolutely cut that. And that's how they could save some money and use it for other type of stimulus programs with the package. So that's where they could save money. And I don't think there should be any controversy with that. But again, they would have to start a movement to do that. I don't think there should be any controversy with that. That's a place where they could remember they did do that with the third stimulus check package. They lowered the stimulus checks. They cut out people making $100,000 and they lowered it to $80,000. They should absolutely do that with the child tax credit. There's no way at all people making $300,000 or $400,000 should be getting those monthly payments. I mean, if you disagree, let me know. But they absolutely should cut that, lower that down dramatically to. I mean, nobody's making over $200,000 or $300,000 needs to be getting those monthly child tax credits. They could lower that and give out stimulus checks to, the people that got the third stimulus check, the same income qualifications. They could take that money and apply that towards a fourth stimulus check. I don't know how much money would be there. There's not that many people that make that much money getting child tax credits, but that money could be applied there. Also, interestingly, kind of on the same type of note there, Senator Joe Manchin suggests that requiring people to work so they can get the monthly child tax credit. What's interesting there is that this is something that's only been said by Republicans. This has been said by Republican Senator Marco Rubio and a couple other Republicans. Which is interesting because a lot of people, especially a lot of people in the comments, have said that they feel like Joe Manchin is a Republican. They feel like he's a Republican plant. I've seen people comment jokingly that the Democrats should switch Mitt Romney and Mitt Romney should go over to the Democrat side, and Joe Manchin should go over to the Republican side. So Joe Manchin suggests that requiring people to work should be a requirement for the child tax credits. Now, remember that the Democrats changed that in the third stimulus check package, that you don't need to have any earned income to get the child tax credits. So if you're a stay-at-home mom, you can now get the child tax credits. That used to not be the case. You used to have to need to earn income. So you could be a stay-at-home mom and now get the child tax credits. So people in poverty that have very little income or no earned income at all could get them. You could be on Social Security and not necessarily have earned income, because Social Security does not count as earned income. And you could get the child tax credits, or you could be on disability income that does not count as earned income and get the child tax credit. So Joe Manchin is suggesting, here's his new quote. He says, quote, "You want to help the children and the parents that are basically providing for those children," Manchin said. "There's no work requirements whatsoever. There's no education requirements whatsoever for better skill sets." I'm not sure what education requirements have to do with the child tax credits. It's not like there's education requirements for stimulus checks either. That's an odd statement, to be honest. He says there's no work requirements whatsoever. There's no education requirements whatsoever for better skill sets. Don't you think if we're going to help the children, that the people should make some effort relating to potential work requirements? And again, this is Joe Manchin, who's supposed to be a Democrat. We've only heard this type of comments from Republicans. Interesting statement there. You can let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. Do you think people should have to work or have earned income to receive the monthly payments called the child tax credits? Do you think a stay-at-home mom who doesn't have income should get the child tax credits? Do you think somebody on Social Security should be able to receive the child tax credits if they have children? Remember, the Democrats changed that with the third stimulus check package. Previously, if you didn't have earned income, you wouldn't have gotten them. Yeah, so let me know your thoughts down below in the comments.
Through the direct payments that went to working class families and the $300 a month payment to working parents, we have reduced childhood poverty in this country by over 50%. That is pretty good. And we've got to make sure that this approach, this direct payment to working parents, continues, because if we do not pass a reconciliation bill, that ends in December, and that would be an absolute shame.
Well, for the overall spending bill, $3.5 trillion. I know you, President Biden, and many others are saying it's absolutely necessary, but you've now got several members of your own party, Senator Sanders, who are saying it's just too much. Among them, Senator Joe Manchin of West Virginia. It doesn't look right now as if you've got the votes to get that $3.5 trillion passed. Are you prepared to compromise?
Well, I have compromised, Judy. The truth of the matter is I brought forth a budget for $6 trillion, and we need every penny of that, by the way, if we are going to deal with the extraordinary crisis facing this planet in terms of climate change and have the United States lead the world in transforming our energy system. I compromised. I took that and by the way, that $6 trillion budget, I would say, had the support of at least 80% of the Democratic caucus in the Senate. It was what people wanted. I compromised. We took it down to $3.5 trillion. But what you're looking at right now is a budget and a set of proposals, whether it's expanding childcare, expanding Medicare to cover dental, hearing aids, and eyeglasses, making sure that pre-K in America is free and universal, ending the absurdity that we are the only major country on earth not to guarantee paid family and medical leave, building the housing that we need. And by the way, when you do all these things, creating millions, many millions of good-paying jobs, this is a popular idea. It is supported widely by working-class Americans, whether you're Democrat, Republican, or independent. That is the approach, I think, that has got to be finalized.
But Senator, my point is, you not only have blanket Republican opposition, they're calling it a socialist wish list, at least Senator McConnell is, but you also have Democrats, as I just mentioned, Senator Manchin and others, who are worried this is too much. They talk about inflation. They talk about how much government money has gone out the door during this COVID pandemic.
Well, look, we had a similar problem in terms of passing the American Rescue Plan, which, as you will recall, ended up being passed, I think, at 4 o'clock in the morning with the vice president casting the deciding vote.
You think Senator Manchin will come around?
Look, I think that at the end of the day, and by the way, everybody has a problem with this bill. I have problems with the bill. So we're working 24/7 trying to resolve everybody's problem. But if you're asking me, at the end of the day, Do I think the Democratic caucus will turn its back on the needs of working families, turn its back on the unbelievable crisis we face in terms of climate change? No, I do not believe we'll turn our back. I think we resolve it, we'll come together, and we'll pass. By the way, this not only this $3.5 trillion, it is $3.5 trillion reconciliation bill, as you know, is tied together with this $550 billion physical infrastructure bill. And I hope very much that we can pass both.
Final, very quickly, different subject. Newest member of the Supreme Court, Justice Amy Coney Barrett, in a speech yesterday in Kentucky, Senator Sanders said that contrary to what some believe, the court is not driven by partisanship. She said, we're not a bunch of partisan hacks. We are driven by judicial philosophies.
Well, depending on how I don't consider them to be partisan political hacks. I think there is no question but that Donald Trump and other Republican presidents have appointed people who they felt would toe a very, very conservative line with regard to corporate needs, with regard to being anti-choice in terms of women's rights. That's what Republican presidents, including Trump, who appointed Ms. Barrett, have done. And that's the simple reality.
So you're saying they're not driven by their judicial philosophies?
No, I'm not saying that at all. I'm sure they believe that they are, but it's not an accident that Donald Trump happened to appoint them and not somebody else.
All right, Lily was dying to come say hi. Say hi, Lily. You don't look happy. You look like Grumpy Cat. Okay, go on. You wanted to say hi. All right. So yeah, Senator Joe Manchin's being a real pain in the side of the Democrats, for lack of a being political correct there. And we also have some senators from the Democratic side, and probably have some House representatives that are going to demand that this package be fully paid for, which is very, very different than we've had from the last three stimulus packages. The two were stimulus check packages. Remember, there was a couple minor packages passed underneath former President Donald Trump. Former President Donald Trump passed 5 stimulus packages, 2 that had stimulus checks, 3 very, very minor stimulus packages, 5 packages in total. None of those were paid for. They didn't raise taxes and pay for any of them. They all just went to the national debt. 2 major stimulus packages that cost around $3.3 trillion in total. The third stimulus check package that was $1.9 trillion by President Biden, nobody paid for that one either. That just went to the national debt as well. But now everybody's all worried about the national debt all of a sudden, when we're still in the thick of the pandemic, around 150,000 people testing positive daily, and the economy is kind of crumbling. I mean, the jobs, being created per month are actually going down. Only 235,000 jobs for the whole country were created in the last month in August. So if that trend continues, September actually could be negative. Yeah. So, but now all of a sudden, everybody's worried about the national debt. All of a sudden now, it's kind of strange. Even the Democrats are now concerned about the debt. So nonetheless, we have everybody now wanting this next package and the infrastructure package to be paid for, or fully paid for. Almost fully, whether it's going to be almost fully paid for or fully paid for, we're going to have to see. But that might determine how big the package can be, whether it's going to be 3 trillion, 2.8 trillion, 3.2 trillion, or 3.5 trillion. But then we also have Joe Manchin saying he wants 1.5 trillion, which is just way out of left field. That could be a big difference as well. So, yeah. I'll keep you up to date. Literally new information coming in by the day here, so don't miss out on any videos at this point. New videos come out every day at 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I will keep you up to date with everything as it comes in on our channel. Make sure to subscribe down below. I'll keep you up to date with everything as it comes in. You can click here to watch my newest stimulus check video next. And this video is about a new petition for $1,400 stimulus checks to be included in this next package. So click on one of those videos next. Thanks, guys, and I will see you in the next video.